The campfire crackled in the quiet evening air, its orange glow chasing back the creeping shadows of the alien forest. Ethan sat alone on a fallen log, stirring a pot of stew with the care of someone who had long since learned the importance of a hot meal after a hard day. The aroma of roasted roots and salted meat rose into the night, mingling with the sharp scent of wild blossoms and damp soil. He had been on this planet for 3 months, part of a frontier program to establish outposts beyond Earth's crowded colonies. Solitude no longer surprised him. He expected it. What he didn't expect was the faint rustling in the brush just beyond the firelight. At first, Ethan thought it was another scavenger creature sniffing out his supplies. But when he turned, he froze. 2 figures stepped hesitantly into the glow, their hands trembling, their eyes wide and shining with hunger. They weren't human. Their slender frames were wrapped in torn scraps of cloth, their skin smooth with a faint shimmer that caught the firelight in pale blues and silvers. Their faces bore delicate ridges along the cheekbones, their eyes luminous, larger than his own. They couldn't have been much older than 20 by human standards. One of them swallowed hard and spoke in halting, accented English, her voice fragile as dry leaves. "Can we have your leftovers?" The words hit Ethan like a stone dropped into still water. He glanced at his pot, then back at the 2 alien girls. Their cheeks were hollow, their arms trembling, their bodies so thin he could count their ribs even through the ragged fabric. For a moment, his instincts screamed at him to be cautious. He had no idea who they were, or if danger lurked behind them. But then he looked again at their eyes, pleading, desperate, breaking with shame. Slowly, Ethan set down the spoon. "You don't need to beg," he said softly. "Sit. Eat." The taller of the 2 shook her head. "No, just leftovers. Please. We'll leave after." Ethan felt a tightness in his chest. He ladled out 2 bowls brimming with the thick stew and set them on the ground before them. "Leftovers are for tomorrow," he told them. "Tonight you eat properly." For a heartbeat, neither moved. Then, as though their pride finally snapped under the weight of their hunger, they both dropped to their knees and seized the bowls. They ate as though the food might vanish if they slowed, spooning mouthful after mouthful with trembling hands, hot broth dripping down their chins, roots and meat swallowed almost without chewing. Ethan turned away to give them the dignity of not being watched, staring instead into the fire. But he could hear their muffled sobs between gulps, tears of relief cutting streaks down their alien faces. When at last the bowls were empty, they clutched them to their chests as though they were treasures. The shorter one, her voice steadier now, whispered, "Thank you, human." Ethan finally turned back, his gaze softening. "I'm Ethan. Who are you 2? They exchanged a glance. The taller one straightened, trying to muster a shred of dignity. "I am Leora. This is my sister, Saran." "Sisters, huh?" Ethan nodded. "How long since you last ate?" Leora's lips quivered. 3 days. Maybe 4. The weight of that admission settled heavy on the clearing. Ethan stirred the pot again, then filled his own bowl. But before he could lift it to his lips, Saran stared at him, guilt shadowing her glowing eyes. "You gave us too much. You'll starve." Ethan chuckled softly. "Don't worry about me. I've got more where that came from." He raised his bowl, sipped, and gave them a reassuring grin. "You 2 needed it more." The sisters lowered their eyes, silent for a moment. The fire crackled, and in that quiet, Ethan realized how fragile they truly were. Fragile in body, yes, but also in spirit. After a time, Leora asked hesitantly, "Why help us? Others drive us away. Say we're useless." Ethan's jaw tightened. He had heard rumors of abandoned colonies, displaced natives, and exploitation hidden behind pretty words like expansion. Looking at these two, he knew the rumors were more truth than lies. "Because no one deserves to beg for scraps," he said firmly. "Not while I'm around." The sister's eyes glistened again, not from hunger this time, but from something warmer. The night deepened. Ethan shared a second helping with them, slower this time, letting them savor it. He gave them bread baked earlier in the day, and they tore it in half, sharing it with such tenderness that it struck Ethan in the heart. Eventually, bellies full, exhaustion overcame them. The girls huddled close together near the fire, their heads resting against one another. Ethan rose quietly, fetched 2 spare blankets from his pack, and draped them gently over their shoulders. They stirred but didn't wake, their faces soft in sleep, no longer twisted by hunger. Ethan sat back down, gazing at the sleeping sisters. He thought of how he had planned this world to be a place of isolation, a test of his endurance. Yet in this moment, he realized something deeper. Isolation was never the point. Survival wasn't just about food or fire, it was about kindness. About seeing another suffering and refusing to turn away. The wind whispered through the alien trees, carrying with it the faintest hint of hope. By dawn, when the first rays of light painted the forest in silver and gold, Ethan knew one thing with certainty. Those 2 sisters wouldn't be wandering alone anymore. Not while he had food to share, fire to offer, and the will to stand beside them. Because sometimes the simplest act, feeding empty stomachs, was enough to change everything. The first birds of dawn, strange long-winged creatures with crystal-like feathers, swept through the trees, their calls echoing like bells. Ethan stirred the fire back to life, the scent of fresh bread mixing with the crisp morning air. He glanced at the 2 sisters curled beneath the blankets. For the first time since they'd appeared, their faces were peaceful. No more hollow desperation. No more trembling from hunger. Just quiet breaths and the warmth of safety. Ethan felt a pang of something he hadn't allowed himself to feel in months. Purpose. He had come here expecting only solitude, to endure the wilderness until his contract ended. Yet watching the 2 alien girls, he realized survival meant more than keeping himself alive. It meant protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. When Leora and Saran finally woke, they blinked at the blankets, at the bread waiting on the log, at Ethan smiling as if it was the most natural thing in the world. Saran whispered, "We thought we would die." Ethan shook his head. "Not on my watch. You've got a place here now. No more begging for leftovers. No more starving." Leora's throat worked as if she couldn't find the words. Then she bowed her head, tears glittering in the morning sun. "You saved us. Not just with food, but with kindness." Ethan's chest tightened, and he gave them both a steady nod. "Then let's eat. And after we'll figure out what's next together." The sisters shared a look, fragile hope blooming in their eyes like dawn breaking after endless night. And for the first time since Ethan set foot on that lonely planet, he no longer felt alone.